Cooper.
In music industry and your dedication and passion for music, people, and the arts, and an appreciation of your presence here today, Musicians Institute is proud to confer upon you the honorary degree of Doctor of Music. Yeah. Dr. Cooper, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I actually have another one of these, and if I get one more, I can start writing prescriptions. My band is very happy about that. Congratulations to the graduates, by the way. And, like you said, hard work. But it raises a lot of flags that I am your keynote speaker today. A certain lack of judgment on you know, there's a lot of things you can talk about in music. First of all, it says, somebody once said, talking about music is like dancing about architecture. It's intangible. We all have our own likes and dislikes. And but tonight, I think, since you're in the music business, you're going to be meeting your idols. You're going to be meeting your heroes, because everybody, no matter what aspect of music you're in, you'll end up meeting them. And that's going to kind of be something that I talk about tonight. Because I don't think that it's a bad thing to meet your idols. I got to meet people that I got to work with, Vincent Price, the Rolling Stones, and people like that. And I was very impressed with them. Frank Sinatra, the Beatles, people that I was just like a fly on the wall when they were around. But the very first time we came to Los Angeles, we came here as a little band from Arizona with a lot of
Cortez High!
Warped ideas about music. The only person that would even listen to us was Frank Zappa. Now Frank saw us play a show at a thing called Lenny Bruce's birthday party. And it was all the groovy bands from LA, you know. Everybody was smoking and everybody was on acid or whatever they were doing. Here comes at the end of this show, this band, up lighting, makeup for miles, and nobody had ever seen Alice Cooper before, and we were 6 times louder than anybody else with a bad attitude. We cleared that room in 3 minutes. 6,000 people running for the door. If you would have said fire, you couldn't have got people out any quicker than that. Frank Zappa saw that and said, I gotta have that band. Now, one of the reasons I mention that is because one of my theories is, if you're going to be in this business, go out on the limb as far as you possibly can. You're either going to be a genius or a total idiot. And either way, that's okay, because you went out on the limb and you tried being either one. If you are successful, you're a genius. If you fail, you're an idiot, and you start climbing out on the limb again with something else. Whatever you do, avoid mediocrity. Mediocrity is your enemy. That gigantic gray area that people fall into in order to pay the bills, I understand that. But it's not in the least bit as fulfilling as going out there, doing what you really want to do, and failing. Rather see you do that than get in the middle and just be another guy out there. Hey, if that's what it is, then that's great, and that's you pay the bills with that, and that's wonderful. But don't ever tell yourself not to go out on that limb as far as you can. That's where Bob Dylan came from. That's where the Beatles came from. That's where all the greats came from. Was way out on that limb. I want to tell you a story though about meeting your idols, especially this one. You got to picture this now. Everybody has a good imagination here, I'm sure. So I'm standing in Elvis Presley's kitchen with a loaded .38 automatic on it. How did Elvis get to this point? I got a call in 1972. And said, Alice, Elvis wants to meet you. Okay, great, Elvis Presley. So I get in the elevator, and in the elevator is Chubby Checker, Liza Minnelli, and Linda Loveless. We go up the elevator and they search us for weapons, which is a little silly because once you get in there, there's guns everywhere. And we're standing there, and Elvis Presley now in 1972 was Elvis Presley. He wasn't fat Elvis, he wasn't stupid Elvis, he was the king. He walked into the room and he was the room. And he comes over and he goes, "Hey man, you're that cat with a snake, ain't you? That cat with a mangled snake, I dig that, man, that's cool." And so he says, "Oh, come here, I want to show you something." So up there, cool. Go in the kitchen, he opens up the drawer, hands me a loaded .38. Smith & Wesson Snub Nose 38. So, being from Detroit, I open up the cartridge and take the bullets out. He goes, "No, leave them in, it's all right." Close up the cartridge, and I'm standing there with a loaded .38 on Elvis Presley. The little devil on my shoulder goes, "Kill him." And I looked over and I went, "No." The little angel on my shoulder goes, "Wound him." Either way, it's going to be the greatest thing ever happened. Alice Cooper shoots Elvis Presley. Before I could make that decision, I was on the ground. The gun was over here. His boot was in my throat. And because he was a karate guy, you know. And he says, "That's right, take a gun out of someone's hand." So let's get up now. But now there was a lesson to be learned about Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley was so big, he was a prisoner of his own fame. He could have anything he wanted in this little box, this little world that they created for him, that the Colonel created for him, but he couldn't go out of that box. And it was sad to see a guy that couldn't go out and play pool. He couldn't go to a movie. He couldn't do anything because he was Elvis Presley. But inside that box, he could have anything he wanted, which is a sure prescription for somebody killing themselves. He ate himself to death, basically, because he had no freedom as an artist. I thought that was the saddest thing about Elvis Presley. He was a great guy, and he had no freedom in it. And I think Michael Jackson had that same thing. Michael Jackson didn't have any life because he was in a box. At that point, I always said, I never want to be that big, that I can't go do things like this, or go play golf, or go to a movie, or whatever. That's an interesting point. I don't think very few people get to that point, but if you ever do, break out of that box. Don't ever stay in that box. Now, the other story I wanted to tell you was, this story is so famous because I got the notorious